النسير نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونشكره ونصلي ونسلم على حبيب إله العالمين حافظ سره ومبلغ رسالاته الرسول المسدد المصطفى الأمجد المحمود الأحمد أبي القاسم محمد
اللهم صل على محمد
وبآله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين صلوات الله عليهم أجمعين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم ومنكر فضائلهم وغاصب حقوقهم من الأولين والآخرين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقد قال الحكيم في كتاب الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ادعو إلى سبيل ربك بالحكمة والموعظة الحسنة آمنا بالله وصدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوا على محمد If every act of charity is rewarded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then why stinginess? This was the third advice of our sixth Imam. We mentioned about charity last night, and the charity of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam is a moral and a lesson for us. When we look at the charity and at the generosity of Ahlul Bayt, it is so astonishing, it is so amazing, that you will find in the time of Imam Ali alayhi salam and Bibi Fatima alayhi salam, when they had no food at their home, 3 days there was no food, and when Amirul Mu'minin comes out, before he comes out, he asks to Bibi Zahra alayhi salam that, "Oh, the daughter of the Holy Prophet, do we have some food?" And Zahra says that, "No, we don't have food. It's 3 days now, we don't have food." Amirul Mu'minin goes out to take some loan so that he can provide some food for his family. So when he comes out and when he goes to get some loan, and on his way he comes across Miqdad. Miqdad was a very prominent companion of Amirul Mu'minin and Rasulullah. So Miqdad also, he was going through difficult situation, financial situation. And he lends some money to Miqdad. When Miqdad says to Amirul Mu'minin that, "Ya Ali, I am also in a difficult position," Amirul Mu'minin gives that money to Miqdad. But now, see, when they come back, see the generosity of Ahlul Bayt. That Ahlul Bayt, Amirul Mu'minin had that money, he gives to Miqdad. When he comes back home, he didn't have money, there was no food. But he sees Zahra alayhi salam is praying there, and besides Zahra alayhi salam, there was a utensil which was covered. And Rasulullah is seated beside Bibi Fatima alayhi salam. And then the utensil which was covered, when Zahra finished her prayers, and Amirul Mu'minin is posing question to Bibi Zahra alayhi salam, that where has this food come from? Zahra replies, Amirul Mu'minin says that, قال أن لك هذا قالت هو من عند الله إن الله يرزق من يشاء بغير حساب. Now when Amirul Mu'minin poses a question that where has this come from, قال أن لك هذا, it is completely the verses of Quran. The verses of Quran of Surah Al Imran, chapter 3, verse number 37. If you see at the end of the verse, in this verse it says that Zakaria posed a question to Maryam. قال يا مريم أن لك هذا. When Zakaria was the custodian of Maryam, and وَكَفَّلَهَا Zakaria according to Quran, Zakaria was amazed to see food, that also which food? The food which was off season. The fruits which were off season, those fruits were found in the mihrab of Maryam, in the niche of Maryam, in the holy sanctuary of Maryam. And when Zakaria was amazed, being the prophet of Allah, he was amazed and he poses a question. He says that, "Oh Maryam, where did this come from?" Maryam replies, "Huwa min indillah, inna Allah yarzuqu man yasha'u bighayri hisab." This is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and whomsoever Allah wills, whomsoever Allah pleases, He feeds him to any measure He wants. Thus this was from Allah. So when the conversation between Imam Ali alayhi salam and Bibi Fatima was heard by Rasulullah, Rasulullah said that this is exactly the same conversation of Zakaria and Maryam. It was a Quranic conversation which Bibi Zahra alayhi salam replies. And you will find that Ahlul Bayt's charity and generosity was amazing to that extent that they would do ithar. Ithar means to sacrifice, to give priority to somebody else over yourself. And Quran has mentioned this and in many places. Like in Surah Hashr, Quran says, وَيُؤْثِرُونَكَ عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ وَلَوْ كَانَ بِهِمْ خَصَاصَةٌ, which means that they give priority over themselves to others while themselves they are in poverty. A similar story, I'll cut it very short, that when a beggar comes to the mosque and he asks something, he was very hungry, and no one was ready to take that beggar to the mosque. Yeah, it was none else but Amirul Mu'minin says that I will take this beggar to the mosque. And when Amirul Mu'minin takes the beggar to the mosque, when he says, I will take him to my home. And when he takes this beggar to his home, and Zahra alayhi salam, at that time they didn't have enough food. The food which they had was only of one person. It was only one plate. So see, the ithar and the generosity and the charity of Ahlul Bayt was to that extent that when Bibi Zahra alayhi salam says that we don't have enough food, Amirul Mu'minin says that no worries, we'll switch off the lamp and I will sit in darkness and we'll leave this one plate for this guest of ours. We will feed him. And Amirul Mu'minin, he switches off the lamp, he sits in the darkness because the beggar would have felt ashamed to have food while Amirul Mu'minin is not having food. So what he does, he switches off the lamp and he sits there and that beggar, he feeds, he eats until when he finishes he goes, then he switches off the lamp. Next day the verse revealed of Surah Hashr, verse number 8, وَيُؤْثِرُونَكَ عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ وَلَوْ كَانَ بِهِمْ خَصَاصَةٌ. These are those that they are ready to sacrifice and they give priority to others, they give preference to others over themselves. Even then they are in poverty, yet they give priority to others. These are Ahlul Bayt. That when they give charity, this is their charity. That وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَىٰ حُبِّهِ مِسْكِينًا وَيَتِيمًا وَعَسِيرًا إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ لَا نُرِيدُ مِنْكُمْ جَزَاءً وَلَا شُكُورًا. They do not expect any gratefulness from the opposite side, that the opposite side should be grateful to them. No, they said that يُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَىٰ حُبِّهِ. We give them, Quran says, that they feed others for the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They feed the captives, they feed the poor, they feed the orphan, and they say that we don't expect anything from you. إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ لَا نُرِيدُ مِنْكُمْ جَزَاءً وَلَا شُكُورًا. We don't want anything from you. And from Ahlul Bayt there is one personality who is known as Kareem Ahlul Bayt, which means the most generous in Ahlul Bayt. And that is Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. That he was so Kareem, he was so generous that he was just looking for an opportunity, for a chance to grant people things. He was just looking for an opportunity. If he would see his slave, he saw an action that a slave performed. And which action was that? That the slave, he picked up a piece of bread. He kissed it. Hassan al-Mujtaba loved that action. He said, I freed you. When a slave girl comes and she grants and she gives a gift to Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba, a bouquet of flowers. When she gives a bouquet of flowers, Imam Hassan alayhi salam frees her. He says, I freed you. So there are always people besides, and they'll always pressurize you. When you want to give something in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there'll be always people who will tell you that, oh, why did you do so? Why did you give much? So they also said to Imam Hassan alayhi salam that she just greeted you by giving you a bouquet of flowers and you freed her. Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba replies by reciting this verse of Quran of Surah Nisa, chapter 4, verse number 86. He says that وَإِذَا حُيِّيتُمْ بِتَحِيَّةٍ فَحَيُّوا بِأَحْسَنَ مِنْهَا أَوْ رُدُّوهَا. Quran says that whenever you are greeted by a greeting, then you return a greeting in a better greeting. So he says that I gave this in a better greeting. And for me, the better greeting was to free her. Because she presented to me a bouquet of flowers. For me, the better thing was to free her. First, I freed her. He was so generous. That a person comes to Uthman and he says to Uthman that I'm not a poor, I'm not a beggar, but I need some help, I need some donation. Uthman gives him 5 dirhams. And that person takes that 5 dirhams and gives back. He said that what is this 5 dirham for? I'm not a poor, I've told you. So Uthman says that, can you see at the corner of that masjid, there are 3 personalities sitting there at the corner of masjid. There is Hassanain Sharifain and Abdullah bin Jafar, the husband of Zainab alayhi salam. Those 2, they have fed from Fatima to Zahra salamullahi alayha. They are very generous. Ask them. And Hassan al-Mujtaba gave 500 dirhams. He gave 500 dirhams. Imam Hussein alayhi salam gave 490 dirhams. Abdullah bin Jafar gave 480 dirhams. And they gave a bit less for the respect of their brother. For the respect of Imam Hassan alayhi salam. They didn't give more than that. Now this was the generosity of Ahlul Bayt. We say this initially, that whenever you want to give something, you'll find people across you, the way Quran says, وَيَعْمُرُونَ النَّاسَ بِالْبُخْلِ. They will do bukhl and they will command others to do bukhl. There is a very authentic tradition of Rasulullah. He says that whenever a mu'min puts his hands in the pocket to take out some money for charity, 70 Satan cling to the hands of that mu'min. And those 70 Satans, they prevent that mu'min to give charity. Now, this is the hadith of the Holy Prophet, that whenever a mu'min wants to give alms, 70 Satans, they cling in the hands of a mu'min, so that they prevent the mu'min not to give charity. Now, once a scholar said this, he was propagating, he was preaching from the pulpit. He was seated high on top of the pulpit and he was preaching. Now, there were some people seated at the corner of the masjid. One person said, in amazement to his friend, that which kind of hadith is this? Ayatollah Nematullah Jazairi narrates this incident. He said that when this preacher, he preached this from the pulpit, that when a person wants to give alms, 70 Satans prevent him from giving alms. They cling in his hands. So that person said, astonishingly and in amazement, that this, what relation does 70 Satan have in giving charity, with giving charity? This is not practical. Now, coincidentally, when that preacher was preaching from the pulpit, a famine struck that year. People, they were in drought and they were starving. They needed food. So that person says that if people need food, I've got some wheat at my home. I can go home and bring some wheat right now for those people who are starving. There are some people who are starving in the mosque, I'll bring for them. So this person says that it's not a big deal, it's not very practical. 70 Satans cling in the hands of a mu'min when he wants to give charity. Let me go home. He goes home. When he goes home and he wanted to take some wheat so that he should come back to the mosque and provide that wheat to those people who were starving, when he goes home, his wife rebuked him. And she said that, why do you want to give charity? Why do you want to give this wheat? Have you thought of us? You don't have consideration at all. You have not thought of us. What if drought goes longer? It extends longer. Then we will starve. Your family will starve. Your children will starve. And the wife rebuked her. This person, he leaves the house. He goes empty hands back to the masjid. His friend tells him that what happened? Why did you come empty-handed? Why are you empty-handed? Did you see those 70 Satans clinging your hands? He said, to be honest, I did not see 70 Satans clinging my hands, but I saw the mother of 70 Satans, who prevented me from this good deed. Who prevented me from this good deed. So you've understood now that when a person wants to do charity, that is what Imam Sadiq alayhi salam poses a question. That if every act of charity is rewarded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then why stinginess? Then why stinginess? Now, is charity only confined to money? No, it is not defined only to money. Charity, balki Rasulullah says, kullu ma'arufin sadaqa. He says every ma'ruf means good deeds. Every good deed is sadaqah. If you have got a guest should stay only 3 days. Mehman Nawazi is only 3 days. But that guest if prolongs, मेरे पास तो महीना रहा, इतना सख्त था, फिर दोबारा ऊपर से मुझे कहने लगे मुझे पीटरबोरो ले जा, मुझे मैनचेस्टर मुझे ले जाइए प्लीज, फिर मुझे ले जाना पड़ा. Now you will find this horse, they always blame, isn't it? And they always weep. They say that this is the situation when the guests come. Guest is only 3 days. Then the Prophet says after 3 days, if he prolongs his stay at your home, then that becomes sadaqah. It becomes sadaqah for the mezban. Don't worry. The calamity will go away from you, from your family. If you serve him, you serve him. So sometimes it happens that we think that sadaqah is only money, but no. The Prophet says, "Kullu ma'rufin sadaqah." Whatever good you do, it is sadaqah. The Prophet says, once the Prophet said that every single Muslim should give sadaqah. So the people who were there in Medina, they were amazed. They said that, "Ya Rasulullah, we cannot afford giving sadaqah. Every single Muslim should give sadaqah." So Rasulullah said, what he continued, he said that, "No, you have misunderstood me. Kullu ma'rufin sadaqah." He says that if a person removed an obstacle from the road, this is also sadaqah. If a person guided another Muslim on the road or somewhere, this is also sadaqah. If you went to visit the sick, this is also sadaqah. Rasulullah says, if you enjoin good, this is also sadaqah. If you forbade somebody from evil, this is also sadaqah. You replied somebody's greeting, this is also sadaqah. Now, everything is sadaqah, Rasul says. Kullu ma'rufin sadaqah. So now, if we want to give something, what should we give? What should we give? If you ask Quran tells you, لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ. Quran says that you will never attain goodness. لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ. Except you give benevolently that thing which you love. Then you will attain righteousness. Then you will attain goodness. It is not that, those pair of shoes which I am not using now we should go to green box. Now we should go to charity. Now we should go to the council and now I should give to others. No, don't give that thing which now you would put it in dustbin, in garbage. Give something which you would use yourself. If you want to attain goodness, لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ. Our sixth Imam was seated with his companions at his home, and we all know that our sixth Imam was very generous. And when he was seated with his companions, suddenly a beggar came and knocked at the door of our sixth Imam. Now at the sufra, everything was there. At the sufra, there was water, there was milk, there was bread, there was some grapes, there was everything. And when a beggar asked something, that can you feed me something? And when the servant says to our sixth Imam, what shall I give him? He's asking for something. The sixth Imam says, give him grapes. Now the servant also asked, why should I give him grapes? Sixth Imam said, because I love grapes. That is why you give him grapes, because I love grapes. Same applies to us. We need to give something which we love. Then only we will attain righteousness. It should not happen that now this TV I'm not using anymore, this projector I'm not using anymore, now this should go to Maulana's house. This microwave oven I'm not using now, मौलाना ये मेरी बहू आजकल नहीं इस्तेमाल करती है. She is not using nowadays. So somebody was narrating it to me. They didn't give to me. Somebody was narrating to me. And this is that the Maulana was smiling. And Maulana was also happy. Okay, thank you very much. No, this is not Islam. This is not Islam. Or sometimes you'll find that these mosques become a dumping area. The books which they are not using, they'll bring books here. Hey Baba. Whatever they are not using at home, they'll bring here. Is this a dumping area? No. It's so unethical. They also do not tell the caretaker or whoever the in charge is. They bring a whole box of audio cassettes. अब तो tape recorder का ज़माना नहीं रहा ना. They'll just use CDs. So what they'll do is they'll bring the whole box of audio cassettes and they'll keep in the foyer or anywhere. That's it. Let it go to the masjid. Baba, who will use in the masjid? This is the problem. People, they've taken charity in that way. But this is not charity. This is not charity. If you want to give something to that extent that it is said, it's a very It's a very famous saying that if you have given somebody a fish, then you have fed him that day. But if you have taught him fishing, what will happen? You have fed him the whole life. This is also charity. If you have taught him an art, you have taught him a skill, this is also charity. If you have taught him fishing. See, it is so important that in Surah Mujadila, in Quran Majid, people were taking advantage of Rasulullah in Medina. You know, because Rasulullah was a great personality. So sometimes you'll find, just take example, if you've got a great personality seated here, everybody would come to him perhaps, and they would want to benefit from him, or perhaps they don't have any work, but it's just to show off, or just to waste his time. So they were wasting his time, and they would ask things which were not important. Sometimes they would ask him to Maulana things. Example, you must be knowing Zubaydah, isn't it? Zubaydah is the wife of Harun Rashid, isn't it? So she was the wife of Harun Rashid and the mother of Amin, isn't it? Okay. So example, they'll ask you this question. That Zubaydah, because she made a Nahr, isn't it? It was very famous at Nahr Zubaydah in Baghdad. So they were saying that wo Jannat mein jayegi, things like that. Things which will not benefit. Things which won't benefit completely, they'll pose these questions. So people have got this habit. So this is not new. Even in the Holy Prophet's time, they used to do this. They would take advantage of Rasulullah, they would misuse his time, and they would come. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed a verse in Quran. From now onwards, whoever wants to visit Rasulullah, he will have to give sadaqah. He'll have to give 1 dirham. Oh Baba, when this verse revealed, no one came to Rasulullah. Why? Because they had to pay. Even 1 dirham they didn't want. History tells us that 10 days, nobody else but Amirul Mu'minin Ali ibn Abi Talib salawatullahi wa salam alayhi. He would go daily and he would ask 1 question. He would give 1 dirham and he would ask 1 question. And that is why Amirul Mu'minin says that this is the only verse of Quran, this is the only verse that only I have implemented that verse. Nobody else implemented that verse. Because nobody implemented it. For Holy Prophet, it was not supposed to be implemented. He was not supposed to implement it. So nobody else implemented, only Amirul Mu'minin implemented it. It is like if a community says that, the leader of that community, it says that we are taking you somewhere for an outing, yeah? And there will be a bus, there will be transport charges, perhaps £5, £7, whatever, yeah? It will be a day out, we'll go there. And nobody will approach. Nobody will go there. Nobody will approach the in charge to pay that £5 or £7. But the time, if it is announced that now there's no debt charges, there's no, you're not supposed to pay £5 or £7 or whatever. Now it is free of charge. You'll find that now there's no space. The whole bus is filled. If you go there, there's no space. This is what happens, isn't it? So when it comes to take out something, people become stingy. Remember the verses which we recited initially? Innal insana khulika halu'a, idha massahu sharru jazu'a, wa idha massahu al-khayru manu'a. That man is created in a very hasty temperament, Quran says, being greatly grieved when evil afflicts him. And he becomes miserly and very stingy when good comes across him. He doesn't want to give. This is the nature of man. Yeah, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, now you'll ask me that if this is the nature of man, then why did Allah create us like this? If it's our nature, and if it's condemned, then why are we like this? Why He created us like this? No, He created like this, He has given also aql. He has given us our common sense, intellect. And when He has given aql, we need to use this intellect. And we should give, our nafs will tell us to do this, but we should keep our aql, we should use this aql. We should use our common sense. And we think that this is not right, we mustn't do that. Because when our sixth Imam was asked, what is aql? Our sixth Imam says, Ma ubida bihir rahman, waqtusiba bihil jinan. What does it mean? He says that aql is something where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is worshipped, is a weapon. Ma ubida bihir rahman. That Allah is being worshipped, and paradise is being achieved through aql. Paradise is not only Jannat but Jinan. Mafatihul Jinan. The keys of paradises. Same applies to this. Imam Sadiq says that the paradises will be achieved if you use your aql properly. So Imam Sadiq alayhi salam was so generous that he says that give him grapes. Why? Because I love grapes. That is why Imam says that give him grapes. Yeah. After the death of the Holy Prophet of Islam, Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when the Muslims were going for expedition, yeah, to Rome, when they were going to different places. When these Muslims went to Rome, and the Romans were Christians at that time, and this person, Abdullah bin Hudafa, who was the leader of the army, yeah, he was the leader of the army. Now at that time, if the leader of the army, if he converts to another religion, automatically the whole army also converts the religion. So the Roman emperor, he arrested Abdullah bin Hudafa, who was the Muslims leader, the army of the Muslims leader. He arrested them, and he arrested the whole army of Muslims. And then when they were arrested, now the Roman emperor is pressing and convincing Abdullah bin Hudafa to become a Christian, to convert. So Abdullah bin Hudafa refuses. He says that Islam is everything for me. He says, I cannot denounce Islam. This can never be done. So he says, the Roman emperor says, fine, if you cannot do that, if you do not become a Muslim, then I will crucify you. So he says to his people, to his soldiers, that you just place him on the cross, do not kill him, throw knives besides him, yeah, but do not hit him, just scare him, so that he should be frightened and he should embrace Christianity. Even though this individual does not move an inch. It was Ajib, isn't it? So he says, fine. He says, no worries. The king says, the Roman emperor, who was a Christian, he says that if you don't want to denounce Islam and you don't want to embrace Christianity, there's no problem. I'll give you half of my wealth, and I will ensure that my daughter will get married to you. Because he wanted that the whole army should become Muslims. They should become Christians. He says that I'll give you my daughter on your hand, and half of my wealth I'll write for you. He says that even though he does not, he refuses, he rejects his proposal. He says, no, I don't want that. He says, will you see that hot boiling oil? I will immerse you, and you will dissolve inside it. And he was he was sent to a place where he could see the hot boiling oil, so that he should get scared, so that he should be frightened, but he doesn't move an inch. So the Roman emperor says to Abdullah bin Hudafa that come over here, come, let us sit and talk. He says, look, I have loved your certainty, your yaqeen. I have loved your conviction. I like your strength. I like your passions. Yeah, I've loved it. Now all I want you to do is come to me and just kiss my forehead. He says that this even I'm refusing. He says, I don't want. He says, wonderful. Okay. Then, now he puts it that way, the Roman emperor. He says that if you are not ready to do that, then if you kiss my forehead, all other prisoners, I will free them with you. You will be freed, your army will be freed, and all other prisoners will be freed if you kiss my forehead. On hearing this, Abdullah bin Hudafa moves forward, and he kisses the forehead of the emperor, the Roman emperor. When they went back to Medina, people rebuked him. People criticized him. The people of Medina, they criticized Abdullah bin Hudafa. They said that, oh Abdullah, why did you kiss the forehead of a non-Muslim king? He said that I'm not a selfish person. He says when it came to others, I was ready to sacrifice. I'm not a selfish person. So, charity is not confined only to money. Charity is also when you remove an obstacle from the road. That is also charity. If you guide somebody needs an address, this is also charity. Yeah? If you go to visit the sick, this is also charity. All this falls if you enjoin good, you forbade evil, you replied a greeting in a better way. This is also charity. It's not confined only to money. Balki Quran says, what does Quran say? Quran says, قَوْلٌ مَعْرُوفٌ وَمَغْفِرَةٌ خَيْرٌ مِنْ صَدَقَةٍ يَتْبَعُهَا أَذَى. What does it mean? This is Surah Baqarah, chapter 2, verse number 263. Quran says that قَوْلٌ مَعْرُوفٌ وَمَغْفِرَةٌ, kind speech, قَوْلٌ مَعْرُوفٌ وَمَغْفِرَةٌ, and forgiveness, خَيْرٌ, it is better than sadaqah يَتْبَعُهَا أَذَى. It is better than charity with injury. Sometimes you give charity and there is injury also, isn't it? There are some harsh words. So Quran says, it is that charity, kind speech is better than that charity. قَوْلٌ مَعْرُوفٌ وَمَغْفِرَةٌ, and forgiveness is better than sadaqah, which follows harsh words, which follows injury. And where does this harsh words come from? Where does this injury come from? It is through this small piece of flesh. Regarding this small piece of flesh, Amirul Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib salawatullahi wa salam alayhi says, he says, Balai insan dar zire zabane ust. Amirul Mu'mineen says, he says that bala, the calamity of insan, it is underneath his tongue. Or the elders have said, they've said that al-lisanu jirmun saghir wal jurmul azim. It is a small piece of flesh. In weight, it is very small. Jirmun saghir, wal jurmul azim. But its jurm is very azim. It's very great, isn't it? It causes what not. A small piece of flesh. Sometimes you'll hear many people saying that my hand is aching, my feet are paining, my head is aching. But have you ever heard that my tongue is aching? Tongue never aches. It goes on speaking, isn't it? It goes on speaking. To that, it doesn't. Our fifth holy Imam, Imam Muhammad ibn Ali al-Baqir, salawatullahi wa salam, he says that take care of your tongue, Imam Muhammad Baqir says, just like the way you take care of your gold and silver. He says protect it, the way you protect your gold and silver. Think before you say, for saying without thinking is shooting without aim. It's very dangerous when a person does not think and he speaks. Sometimes it happens that a person, Amirul Mu'mineen says to his son that, oh my son, do not speak everything you know, Amirul Mu'mineen says. And do not speak things which you do not know, Amirul Mu'mineen says. Say la adri nisful ilm, I don't know, is half of the knowledge. Saying I don't know, Amirul Mu'mineen says, is half of the knowledge. So Imam says that do not speak everything what you know. That is why the other scholars have said that ustur dhahabak wa madhhabak. What does it mean for those who know Arabic? It means, ustur means conceal. Conceal your gold. And conceal your future plans. And conceal your dhahabak wa madhhabak. And conceal your school of thought. Conceal your religion. Hide your religion. Sometimes if you need to hide, you hide it. It means that you don't need to speak everything. Aqil person is that person, intellectual is that person. When he is asked, then he speaks. He doesn't speak much. Because the tongue of, Amirul Mu'mineen says, the tongue of a wise person is before his heart. It's not after his heart. What does it mean? It means that he thinks first. A munafiq speaks first, then he thinks. A wise person, a mu'min, he thinks first, then he speaks. There was a person in a particular location, and he had this problem, that he could not control his tongue. He could not control his tongue completely. And the wazir of a particular king, of that kingdom, he was taking a stroll at night. He was on duty, just to check the subjects. So when he comes to that person's house, he saw the light is on, and he could hear some murmurs that this person, he's at his home and he's speaking something while he was busy knitting his shawl. Now he had taken an appointment the next day to meet the king to present this shawl. So he was giving final touch-ups, final touches of that shawl. But while he was giving final touches to that shawl, he was speaking to himself. He was saying that, oh my tongue, please stay in the control tomorrow when I go to visit the king. When he was speaking to himself, and the wazir heard the murmurs, he said that, and he went to peep at the keyhole. And he heard this statement of this person, and the wazir left. Next day, when this person was supposed to present his gift to the king, and everybody was present there, the soldiers were there, the king was seated on his throne, and when the soldiers saw the shawl, they liked the shawl. Somebody said that such a beautiful shawl, this will help the king when he walks early in the morning, for when he goes for walking, it will help him, and whatnot. Everybody gave his own opinion. So the king said, while he was seated on his throne, that let us listen to the person himself. What is the purpose of this shawl? Why is he presenting me this shawl? And this person said, the person who had not control over his tongue, see the consequence. He says that, oh king, I have made this shawl, it will look good. It will look very artistic if it is kept on your shroud when you die. It will look good when it is kept on your shroud when you die. Now, this was a very blunt reply. The king and his soldiers, they all looked astonishingly and very in anger in him with his wrath. And the king said that he should be beheaded. Luckily, that wazir was there. That minister was there. He was present there. He said that, oh king, he intervened. He said that this person, he doesn't mean bad to you completely. He doesn't have bad intention for you. This person has got one problem, and that problem is that his tongue does not stay under his control. This is the problem. Sometimes this tongue does not stay under the control. Same applies in the time of Harun Rashid. In the time of Harun Rashid, it all depends how you speak. It all depends how you speak. Okay, because even if you give good words, Quran says this is also charity. It all depends how we have conveyed the message. That skill of speaking. Isn't it? Somebody was telling me that if a person is completely clean shaved, and it's how you tell him. You need to have that skills. It's very true. Even for Amr bil Maruf, you need to have that skills to explain him. Isn't it? You can't invite people. Do you remember initially what did we recite? Ud'u ila sabili rabbika bil hikmati wal mau'izatil hasana. Invite people towards the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with wisdom, with good words, with wisdom, and with good advice. Advice, even Amr bil Maruf, should be given in a proper way. The method should be correct. It's all how you use your tongue. Now in the time of Harun Rashid, you all know Harun Rashid, yeah? He was the king of which Imam's time? Which Imam's time? Imam Musa al-Kazim. Salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. Now a palmist entered in. A palmist. A palmist is a person who reads your palm, and he tells you things about future. Yeah, even just now, if a palmist enters in, everybody will leave Maulana. Everybody will go to that palmist, and they will look at people. This is also a nature of man. All want to know about their future, isn't it? What future is restored for us. So everybody will leave and they'll go to that palmist, isn't it? They'll leave Maulana alone. When the palmist entered in, and Harun was seated on his throne. Now palmist entered in with this niyyah, with this intention that he would earn something. He entered with this aspiration, with this ambition that he will earn something at the court of the king. So when he enters in, but unfortunately he could not use his tongue nicely. He was not very clever. He was not a wise person. So according to him, now the king, like others, they would extend their hands to a palmist. The king also extended his hand, Harun Rashid. He extended his hand to the palmist. He said, okay, just read for me and look for me. What has future restored for me? So when the palmist looks at this, he says, oh, inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Now on hearing this, the king, he became more worried. If a person tells you, if he wants to give you a bad news, any person will get worried. So the king became worried. He said, what happened? The wazir was there. The minister was there, he was witnessing. The minister of the king. And the palmist says, do you know what? Now he came with the niyyah, with aspiration of earning something. But he's saying the truth also. He's reading the hand and the palm of Harun Rashid. He says that you will witness so many deaths in your life. You will mourn and you will be bereaved. You will see your son's death. Your wife will pass away first. You will see her death. You will see your father's death. You will see your brother's death. And your whole life is bereavement. And you will sit and you will mourn and you will weep. You'll be saddened and you'll be grieved. The king, people, this is everywhere. People want to hear what they want to hear. I don't know if you agree with me. They want to hear what they want to hear. The same applies to us also. So even the king said that, throw him behind the bars. This person is not a right person. He came with a bad fate. Throw him behind the bars. I don't want him. I don't want to see him. And this poor fellow was thrown behind the bars for several months. And he was forgotten that he was behind the bars. After few months, another palmist entered in. When another palmist entered in, now Harun Rashid is a bit reluctant. He's hesitant to show his palm because he's scared. He knows that I'll be told the same thing. But this time, another palmist knew how to use his tongue. He was a bit clever. He was brilliant. He was very bright. What he did is that he said, when he started to read the palm, he said, subhanallah, mashallah, wah, wah, wah. Now the wazir again, in that scenario, the wazir was there, he witnessed. In this scenario, the wazir is present also. So he says that you are blessed with such a long life. Compared to all your family members, you are blessed with a very long life. Compared to your wife, compared to your brother, compared to your father, you are blessed with a very long life, mashallah, subhanallah. And the king became so happy, and the king gifted him with a lot of money, a lot of clothes, but the wazir who was seated there, he was astonished. He says that what is the difference between the first scenario and the second scenario? It is all the same. Is there any difference? No. It is the same. But it all depends how you use your tongue. And Rasulullah says that using your tongue is also it's a kind of charity. Quran also says, not only Rasulullah, قَوْلٌ مَعْرُوفٌ وَمَغْفِرَةٌ خَيْرٌ مِنْ صَدَقَةٍ يَتْبَعُوهَا أَذَى. Kind speech and forgiveness. It is better than sadaqah, which follows injury. That is why, imagine that Luqman Hakim, you must have heard about Luqman Hakim. Luqman Hakim reached to this high stage, this high status. He has reached to that status that people were amazed. He was not a prophet. But the whole surah was revealed in Quran Majid, Surah Luqman. Yeah, he was given wisdom by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The same Luqman, once upon a time he was a shepherd. And when an old person saw Luqman, he was amazed. Because they were together. They were working as a shepherd together. And when he saw Luqman, and he says that, oh Luqman, how have you reached to this stage? Because when this person knew Luqman from long ago. They were together when they were young. They were both shepherds. But now, when Luqman is old, when he comes to the people, they all gathered him as if the thirsty people, they are besides the well and they want to quench their thirst. They all gathered him. And they were posing questions to him, and Luqman is answering the questions, he's answering them. And this person says that, is this not Luqman Hakim? This is Luqman. How has he become Hakim? And when he posed the question to Luqman, that what made you Hakim? Do you want to hear what did Luqman reply? Luqman said, Sidqul Hadith, wa adawul amana, wa tarku ma la ya'ni. He says, because of these three things, I became Hakim, Luqman says. He says, Sidqul Hadith. You see, knowledge, it's true. You can gain knowledge. That's true. Through learning, through struggling. But sometimes knowledge, a person can get that status, he can earn that status through his amal. Remember Muhammad ibn Sirin? I won't repeat his story. I've already said this. He earned ta'bir khab, the knowledge of ta'bir khab through his amal. So sometimes people gain that status through their amal, through their actions. Not only struggling, not only by book and pen and paper. Even by struggling you gain that status. Luqman says that I gained this status of becoming wise he says, by sidqul hadith, by always speaking the truth. Wa ada'il amana, and returning the amana, the trust back to the owners. And tarku ma la yani. You know what is tarku ma la yani? Tarku ma la yani means to stay away from all those stuff which are nonsense, which do not benefit. There are some talks, they are vain talks. Vain talks. They don't give amusements. They don't give you any, they don't benefit you. Sometimes you spend a whole hour with somebody and you have not benefited anything. Neither this dunya nor akhirah. It happens like this. So Luqman says, the tarku ma la yani. That is where I have reached at this stage. Ek durud bheje Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Maaz ibn Jabal कहते हैं कि एक मर्तबा मैं रसूलुल्लाह के साथ मुसाफिरत करता था, और जब मैं मुसाफिरत में था तो मैंने रसूल से सवाल किया कि या रसूलुल्लाह, आप मुझे एक अमल दिखाएं कि मुझे जो खुदा जन्नत दे सकता है, मुझे जन्नत मिल सकती है। तो हुजूर ने अपनी मुबारक उंगली को लेते हुए ज़बान की तरफ इशारा किया। फिर हुजूर ने फरमाया, बहुत से लोग क़यामत के दिन जहन्नम में जाएंगे इसकी वजह से, ज़बान की वजह से, ज़बान की वजह से। इसीलिए कहते हैं कि अइम्मा की हदीस है कि गुनाहों का जड़ झूठ है। इंसान जब झूठ बोलता है, और झूठ, बहुत से गुनाह भी जो है इस ज़बान से होते हैं ना, बहुत से गुनाह, जैसे कि झूठ इंसान बोलता है इस ज़बान की वजह से। गुनाहों का जड़ झूठ है, तरकु मा ला यानी, है ना। इंसान जब झूठ बोलता है, इसीलिए हुजूर फरमाते हैं, और बहुत लंबी लिस्ट है, मैं सब बयान नहीं करूंगा, फकत एक बयान करूंगा जो मेरे टॉपिक के साथ निस्बत रखती है, और वो ये है कि हुजूर फरमाते क़यामत के दिन मैं खुद शिफाअत करूंगा, उसका हाथ पकड़ूंगा क़यामत के दिन, और उसको जन्नत तक ले जाऊंगा। कौन? जो अस्दक़कुम लिसाना, जो हमेशा सच बोलता है, उसको मैं अपने हाथ से मैं उनका हाथ थामूंगा और जन्नत तक ले जाऊंगा, जो हमेशा सच बोलता है। अस्दक़कुम लिसाना, जो सच बात कहता है हमेशा। बल्कि यहाँ तक कहा गया कि मजाक में भी इंसान को झूठ नहीं बोलना चाहिए। झूठ बहुत बुरी चीज है, क्योंकि इंसान अगर एक झूठ कहे, फिर उनको दूसरी बात में भी उनको दूसरा झूठ बोलना पड़ेगा, तीसरा पड़ेगा। अपनी जबान में हम कहते हैं कि एक झूठ कहोगे तो 99 झूठ बोलना पड़ेगा। रसूलुल्लाह के जमाने में एक शख्स था जिसका नाम था वलीद बिन उकबा। आपने शायद नाम सुना होगा, वलीद बिन उकबा मलऊन। वलीद बिन उकबा पहले जो है अच्छा इंसान था, अच्छी शख्सियत थी, उन्होंने रसूल का साथ दिया। वलीद बिन उकबा, एक झूठ की वजह से उनकी पूरी आखिरत तबाह हुई। वलीद बिन उकबा, क्यों? उसने क्या किया? वलीद बिन उकबा इतना अच्छा था कि वो रसूल के साथ करीब था, और रसूल ने उनको एक ड्यूटी दी थी। वो कौन सी ड्यूटी थी? कि तुम जाओ ज़कात कलेक्ट करो बनी मुस्तलक के कौम के पास। वो गया, लेकिन क्योंकि बनी मुस्तलक की कौम ऐसी कौम थी कि जहालत के जमाने में वलीद बिन उकबा के साथ उनकी बनती नहीं थी, आपस में उनका झगड़ा था। लिहाजा इन्होंने सोचा कि क्योंकि वो अब उनका इरादा बुरा नहीं था बनी मुस्तलक का। वलीद जब जा रहा था ज़कात कलेक्ट करने के लिए, वहां पहुंचा और उसने क्या देखा कि बनी मुस्तलक दौड़ते दौड़ते आते हैं, और वो लोग आते थे ताकि इस्तकबाल करे। किसका इस्तकबाल? रसूलुल्लाह का रिप्रेजेंटेटिव आया है, रसूलुल्लाह का नुमाइंदा आया है, लिहाजा हम उनका इस्तकबाल करें। लेकिन वलीद डर गया। वलीद ने सोचा कि ये शायद बदला लेने आए हैं, लिहाजा ये जो है मुड़ के दोबारा गया, और जब गया रसूल के पास और उसने झूठ कहा। रसूल ने कहा, कहाँ है ज़कात जो मैंने तुम्हें भेजा, तुम लेकर आए हो? तो उसने कहा नहीं। कहा क्यों? कहा उन लोगों ने इनकार किया। उन लोगों ने, हालांकि वो खुद डरा, लेकिन उसने नहीं कहा कि मैं डरा, शायद वो बदला लेने आएंगे। में डरा और वो कहने लगा कि इन लोगों ने इनकार किया देने, बस रसूलुल्लाह गज़बनाक हो गए, जाओ जलाल में आ गए। रसूल ने फरमाया कि हम एक पूरी फौज को तैयार करेंगे और उनके बराले ही जाएंगे और पूछेंगे क्यों आप ज़कात नहीं देते हैं। रसूल ने उसकी बात सुन ली तो यहाँ पे एक आयत नाजिल हुई, सूरह हुजुरात चैप्टर 49 वर्स नंबर 6, या अय्युहल्लज़ीना आमनू इन जाअकुम फासिकुन बिनबइन फतबय्यनू। ए ईमान लाने वालों, जब भी एक फासिक आए नबा के साथ, नबा यानी रिपोर्ट के साथ, एक ट्रांसग्रेसर आपको रिपोर्ट दे, इन जाअकुम फासिकुन बिनबइन फतबय्यनू, आप तहकीक करें, बररसी करें, आप उसकी बात मत माने। तो रसूलुल्लाह ने उसी वक्त ऐलान किया कि वलीद बिन उकबा जो है ये जहन्नमी है, उसके बरअले ये आयत नाजिल हुई है। और बस क्योंकि वो बरअले रसूलुल्लाह के अगेंस्ट हो गए, वलीद बिन उकबा अम्र इब्न आस के साथ रहा, शराब खार बना मलऊन। और यही वलीद बिन उकबा, देखिए इस्लाम और मुस्लिमीन की जिल्लत आप देखें, उनकी हालत, मुसलमानों की हालत आप देखें कि तीसरे खलीफे ने, उस्मान बिन अफ़्फ़ान ने वलीद बिन उकबा को गवर्नर बनाया, कूफा का गवर्नर बनाया, यही वलीद बिन उकबा मलऊन। रसूलुल्लाह ने ऐलान किया था कि ये जहन्नमी है, लेकिन ये मुसलमानों का गवर्नर बना। और एक दिन नमाज सुबह, क्योंकि गवर्नर था, नमाज सुबह के लिए नमाज पढ़ाने गया ना, तो उन्होंने 2 रकात के बदले में 4 रकात नमाज पढ़ाई। और वहां पे उन्होंने पूरी मेहराब पे उल्टी कई की। फिर मुड़ के पूछता है नमाजियों से कि 2 और बढ़ाऊं, मैं तो 4 रकात पढ़ाई, 2 और बढ़ाऊं, ये हालत थी। और लोगों ने उनके हाथों से जो है उनके उंगली से अंगूठी निकाली, उनको पता भी नहीं था, इतना मस्त हो गया था, इंटॉक्सिकेंट हो गया था, नशे में था। ये गवर्नर था मुसलमानों का, वलीद बिन उकबा, एक झूठ की वजह से। था कहां? रसूलुल्लाह का सहाबी था, पहुंचा कहां? जहन्नम में। रसूल ने ऐलान किया कि ये जहन्नमी है। क्यों? एक झूठ की वजह से। लिहाजा इंसान बहुत ध्यान रखे, ये वजन में बहुत छोटा है लेकिन काम बहुत बड़ा करता है, गुनाह बहुत बड़ा करता है। ये जबान जुर्मुन सगीर व जुर्मुन कबीर, जुर्मुन कबीर, उसका जुर्म बहुत बड़ा है, बहुत खतरनाक है। और आप देखते हैं ये सब दुश्मनाने अहले बैत मलऊनीन, आप देखिए उन लोगों ने झूठ के ही काम से, हत्ता इमाम हुसैन अलैहिस्सलाम आशूर के दिन भी इमाम ने क्या फरमाया कि आप मुझे नहीं सुनते हो, क्यों? क्योंकि आपके पेट में लुक़्मा हराम है। हम सोचते हैं कि अगर हम झूठ के जरिए हमने कुछ कमाया तो ये कुछ असर नहीं होगा। नहीं, असर करता है, असर करता है ये जाहिर तौर पर, हम समझते नहीं है। इसीलिए तो इमाम ने फरमाया कि तुम्हारे पेट में लुक़्मा हराम है, इसीलिए तुम नहीं समझते हो कुछ, क्योंकि और लुक़्मा हराम झूठ के जरिए से भी मिलता है ना। इंसान जब झूठ बोलता है ना, ये अब देखिए। और ये दुश्मनाने अहले बैत जैसे कि मुआविया लानतुल्लाह अलैह इतना झूठा था, मुआविया अलैहिल्हाविया इतना झूठा था, इतना झूठा था कि एक मर्तबा, कल जुमा है ना, कल इंशाल्लाह आप नमाज जुमा पढ़ेंगे इंशाल्लाह। नमाज जुमा मुआविया ने एक मर्तबा बुध के दिन पढ़ाई थी। क्यों? उसने कहा कि मैं जुमा में यहाँ पे नहीं रहूंगा, मैं रोम के सफीर से मेरी मीटिंग है, मुझे मुलाकात करनी है इससे, लिहाजा मैं नहीं रहूंगा यहाँ पे शाम में, लिहाजा मैं नमाज जुमा वेडनेसडे को पढ़ाऊंगा, बुध के दिन। और उसने पढ़ाई, दीन का ये हाल था। उसने नमाज जुमा पढ़ाई वेडनेसडे को, और लोगों ने तारीफ की उनकी कि इज थिंकिंग ऑफ अस सो मच, ये हमारे लिए फिक्र करता है, वरना हम महरूम रह जाएंगे नमाज जुमा से। अब आप मुझे बताएं, नमाज जुमा पढ़ी जाती है बुध के दिन, ये कितना बसखरा और मजाक है दीन के साथ, झूठ, इतना झूठ। और क्योंकि वो इतना झूठा था, लोग भी थे। देखे, मैं हमेशा अक्सर कहा करता हूं, हम कहते हैं करने जो, इसका मतलब ये है कि तुम कुछ अंजाम दो फिर देखो, या तो देखो और करो, पहले तुम करो फिर देखो, तुम्हें भी मिलेगा, जैसी करनी वैसी भरनी। या तुम पिछले वो हिस्ट्री में, तारीख में देखो, देखने के बाद तुम अंजाम मत दो, है ना। اس کے ساتھ بھی ایسا ہی ہوا، ملعون کے ساتھ، معاویہ کے ساتھ کیا ہوا؟ ایک شخص آیا، اس نے بھی جھوٹ کہا معاویہ کے پاس، معاویہ سے کہنے لگا کہ میں پیغمبر ہوں۔ معاویہ کے زمانے میں وہ معاویہ سے کہتا کہ میں پیغمبر ہوں، تو معاویہ کو تعجب ہوا۔ معاویہ نے کہا اچھا تم پیغمبر کہا؟ تو معاویہ نے کہا کہ تم کیوں اتنے پتلے ہو؟ بہت تھا پتلا، بہت پتلا۔ تو اس نے کہا کہ بس تو معاویہ نے کہا دیکھو تم میرے گھر میں رہو، 1 مہینہ تک جان بناؤ، صحت اچھی طریقے سے بناؤ، اس کے بعد میرے ساتھ گفتگو کرو۔ معاویہ نے کہا کیونکہ بہت پتلے ہو۔ تو اس نے کہا کوئی بات نہیں۔ تو اس نے کہا تمہارے پاس کچھ ہے، تمہارے پاس کچھ معجزات ہے؟ کہا جبرائیل میرے پاس بھی نازل ہوتے ہیں۔ تو معاویہ نے کہا ٹھیک ہے 1 مہینے کے بعد ہم باتیں کریں گے۔ اس نے کہا اچھا کوئی بات نہیں۔ تو معاویہ کے باورچی خانہ میں رہتا تھا۔ اب معاویہ کے بچے باورچی خانہ میں کوئی رہے جس کے پاس حکمت نہ ہو تو ان کو تو مزہ ہی مزہ آئے گا۔ سب کچھ تھا ان کے باورچی خانہ میں اور وہ استعمال کرتا تھا، ان کو مزہ آتا تھا، لہذا وہ سب کچھ کھاتا تھا۔ وہ تو تھا جھوٹا، چور کے گھر میں چور، معاویہ خود جھوٹا، اس کے پاس بھی کوئی جھوٹا آیا، تو وہ معاویہ کے باورچی خانہ میں بیٹھ گیا اور بالکل مزے اڑاتا تھا۔ ان کو تو مزہ آ رہا تھا، خوب مزہ آ رہا تھا اور خوب کھاتا تھا۔ اب 1 مہینے کے بعد موٹا ہو گیا۔ تو معاویہ نے کہا آؤ اب تمہارے ساتھ گفتگو کی جائے۔ تو اس نے کہا نہیں، اب جبرائیل امین نازل ہوئے اور جبرائیل امین نے مجھ سے کہا کہ تم تبلیغ کہیں بھی مت کرو، فقط معاویہ کے گھر پہ رہو، یہاں پہ فقط رہو۔ ان کو مزہ آ گیا، اب مجھے حکم دیا گیا کہ میں وہیں پہ رہوں معاویہ کے ساتھ، کیونکہ وہ خود جھوٹا تھا، ان کو ایسے لوگ ملتے تھے۔ اتنا جھوٹا تھا ملعون، اتنا جھوٹا، آج یہ لوگ کہتے ہیں نا رضی اللہ عنہ، خدا ان کے ساتھ راضی ہو، یہ اتنا جھوٹا تھا کہ ایک دن عمرو و عاص نے ان سے کہا کہ تم لوگوں کو ناپنا چاہتے ہو، دیکھنا چاہتے ہو کہ وہ کیسے آپ کے تابع ہیں؟ تو اس نے کہا، عمرو و عاص نے یہ پلان کی کہ لوگوں سے کہو کہ وہ کدو کھانے سے پہلے جیسے جانور کو ذبح کرتے ہیں ویسے کدو کو ذبح کریں۔ یہ بدعت دین میں ڈالتے تھے، انوویشن جسے کہتے ہیں، کدو ہوتا ہے نا جس کا ہم سالن بناتے ہیں، تو لوگوں نے لے لیا کیونکہ گائیڈنس نہیں تھی، ہدایت نہیں تھی۔ جس نے در اہل بیت کو چھوڑا ان کی حالت یہ ہوتی ہے۔ لہٰذا یہ حکم کوفے تک پہنچ گیا اور امیر المومنین نے دیکھا کہ ایک شخص کدو کو امام سے پوچھتا ہے کہ یا علی قبلہ کس طرف ہے؟ امام نے پوچھا کیوں؟ کہ میں اس کدو کو ذبح کرنا چاہتا ہوں، پہلے میں قبلہ کی طرف مڑوں، پھر بسم اللہ کہوں اور کدو کو ذبح کروں۔ مولا نے کہا القرء لا تذبحوه کلوہ ولا تذبحوہ، یہ کدو جو ہے اس کو ذبح کرنے کی کوئی ضرورت نہیں ہے۔ یہ کیوں بدعت دین میں ڈالی جاتی ہے؟ یہ جھوٹ بدعت ہے، کیوں تم یہ ڈالتے ہو؟ اس میں ذبح کرنے کی کوئی ضرورت نہیں ہے، ایسے ہی کھاؤ۔ یہ تھا معاویہ، اتنا جھوٹا۔ محترم سامعین، انسان اس زبان کے ذریعے کہاں کہاں پہنچ سکتا ہے، اور اسی زبان کے ذریعے، اسی لیے ہمارے 5 امام محمد الباقر صلوات اللہ علیہ فرماتے ہیں اللسان مفتاح کل خیر والشر، زبان جو ہے لسان وہ کنجی ہے، چابی ہے ہر خیر کی اور ہر شر کی۔ اللسان مفتاح کل خیر والشر۔ محترم سامعین، آج ماہ محرم کی 6ٹھی رات آ گئی، دن بہت تیزی سے گزرتے ہیں اور ہم تو یہی دعا کرتے کہ خدایا ہماری اس عبادت کو تو تیری درگاہ میں قبول فرما، اور پتہ نہیں ہمیں کہ یہ ہمارے لیے وہ آیا ہمیں سال آئندہ نصیب ہوگا یا نہیں ہوگا، ورنہ ہم ہے اور یہ غم، ورنہ ہم ہے اور یہ عذاب۔ ہاں زہرا، آج ہم زہرا کو پرسہ دینے آئے ہیں، اون محمد کا مصائب پڑھنا ہے، زہرا مرضیہ کو امام زمانہ کو پرسہ دینے آئے ہیں، وہ اون محمد جو حیدر کرار اور جعفر طیار کے نواسے تھے، اور حیدر کرار اور جعفر طیار کا خون ان کی رگوں میں دوڑ رہا تھا، وہ تھے اون محمد، اتنے بہادر، اتنے شجاع۔ عاشور کی شب جب آتی ہے تو ہر شہید، ہر شہزادی، ہر خاتون اپنے بچوں کے ساتھ بیٹھی ہوئی تھی اور اپنے بچوں کو تسلی دیا کرتی تھی اور نصیحت دیا کرتی تھی۔ فروہ قاسم کے ساتھ تھی کہ میرے لال کا کل تمہیں قربان ہونا ہے، تمہارے چچا پر قربان ہونا ہے۔ لیلا کے ساتھ اکبر تھے، لیلا کہتی تھی کہ میرے لال کل عاشور کا دن ہوگا، تمہیں اپنی جان قربان کرنا ہے تمہارے بابا پر۔ کہتے ہیں کہ اون محمد بھی، زینب بھی ساتھ میں بیٹھی ہوئی تھی اون محمد کے ساتھ، اور اون محمد سے کہتی تھی کہ اے بیٹا تمہارے بابا سے میں نے اجازت چاہی، جب میں نے اجازت چاہی تو تمہارے بابا نے مجھ سے کہا کہ جاؤ اون محمد کو بھی لے چلو اور اون محمد کو بھی لے جاؤ اور میری طرف سے اون محمد کو قربان کرنا، لہٰذا کل قربان ہونا ہے۔ ہاں عزادارو، جب عاشور کا دن نمودار ہوا، ایک کے بعد ایک جاتا گیا، اور محمد نہیں جاتے تھے۔ زینب پریشان ہوئی، زینب کہنے لگی اے بیٹا ابھی تک تم نہیں گئے، میں نے تمہیں کل کون سی نصیحت دی، میں نے کون سی وصیت تمہیں کی؟ کہا اے امی جان، مامو جان مجھے ہمیں اجازت نہیں دیتے ہیں۔ ہاں بس یہ سننا تھا کہ زینب نے کہا میں خود جاؤں گی حسین کے پاس۔ جب وہ آتی ہے کہتی ہے میرے بھائی، اے میرے ماں جائے، میرے دو پیاروں کو اجازت دو جنگ کے لیے۔ جب زینب نے کہا حسین نے مان لیا، حسین نے اجازت دی، عباس کو بلایا، عباس آؤ، دو بچوں کو تیار کرو۔ حسین نے اور عباس نے اون محمد کو تیار کیا، دو چھوٹے چھوٹے بچے تھے۔ اس کے بعد حسین اور عباس نے کہا اے دونوں لال، اے اون محمد جاؤ تمہاری ماں سے آخری ودا ہو لو، آخری رخصت ہو لو۔ جب وہ جاتے ہیں ماں کے پاس، ماں اون محمد کے پیشانی پہ بوسہ دیتی ہے، چومتی ہے، پھر کہتی ہے اے اون محمد اب ملاقات نہ ہوگی تا قیامت، قیامت کے دن ملاقات ہوگی۔ اے بیٹا اون محمد لڑتے لڑتے دھیان رکھنا، جب نہر فرات پہنچو تو پانی مت پینا۔ زینب یہ نصیحتیں دیتی ہے بچوں کو، دھیان رکھنا، خبردار ابھی خیمے میں سکینہ پیاسی ہے، خیمے میں علی اصغر پیاسے ہیں، پانی مت پینا۔ اور محمد کہتے ہیں نا اماں ہم پانی نہیں پیئیں گے۔ عزادارو اون محمد جب خیمے کی طرف سدھارے جب نکلے ہیں تو مقتل نے ایک تصویر کھینچا ہے، مقتل والے لکھتے ہیں، مقاتل میں ملتا ہے کہ عباس اور حسین اور محمد کی جنگ کو دیکھتے ہیں، فضا در خیمہ پہ کھڑی ہے اور زینب کہاں ہے؟ زینب خیمے کے اندر ہے، سجدہ شکر میں اپنے پیشانی کو سر معبود میں سجدہ کرتی ہے، سر کو سجدے میں جھکا دیا زینب نے اور سجدہ معبود کرتی ہے۔ عزادارو محتل والوں نے تصویر کھینچا، وہ کہتے ہیں کہ جب لڑتے لڑتے وہ وقت بھی آیا کہ اون محمد نے صدا دی اما ادرکنی، مامو جان مدد کے لیے آئیے۔ عزادارو مقاتل والے لکھتے ہیں کہ ایک مرتبہ میرے مولا حسین کا چہرہ متغیر ہونے لگا۔ زینب نے مولا کو دیکھا تو فضا نے مولا کو دیکھا تو کیا دیکھا کہ مولا کا چہرہ متغیر ہونے لگا۔ زینب کو دیکھتی ہے تو زینب ابھی تک سجدے میں ہے۔ جب بچوں نے آواز دی وَأَمَّا أَدْرِكْنِي، حسین اور عباس نے خیمے کو چھوڑا ہے اور میدان کی طرف جاتے ہیں۔ ایک مرتبہ اون کے پاس امام حسین جاتے ہیں اور محمد کے پاس ابو الفضل عباس جاتے ہیں۔ جب اون کے پاس جاتے ہیں تو اے بیٹا ظالموں نے تمہاری یہ حالت کی، ابھی گفتگو کرتے ہیں کہ اون نے دم توڑ دیا۔ عزادارو مولا جب اون نے دم توڑ دیا، ایک شقی آتا ہے محمد پر وار کرتا ہے۔ مولا جب جاتے ہیں محمد کے پاس تو محمد نے دم توڑ دیا۔ مولا نے کہا انا للہ و انا الیہ راجعون۔ شیخ عباس قمی اپنی کتاب نفس المحموم میں لکھتے ہیں کہ ہر شہداء کا لاشا جب آتا تھا کیونکہ اب عباس اور حسین، مولا عباس اور مولا حسین اور محمد کا لاشا لاتے تھے خیمے میں۔ شیخ عباس قمی لکھتے ہیں کہ ہر شہداء کا لاشا جب خیمے میں آتا تھا تو طریقہ یہ ہوتا تھا کہ سب بیویاں آتی تھی اور ماتم کی صف بچھاتی تھی اور ماتم کرتی تھی اس شہید پر، لیکن اس دفعہ جب اون محمد کا لاشا آیا خیمے میں، زینب نظر نہ آئی۔ ایک مرتبہ مولا نے، سب بیویاں آئی، فضہ آئی، زینب نظر نہ آئی۔ ایک مرتبہ میرے مولا نے فضہ سے سوال کیا، فضہ زینب کہاں ہے؟ فضہ نے کہا اے میرے سید و آقا، زینب سجدے میں ہے اور خداوند کریم سے کہتی ہے اللہم تقبل منا ھذا القلیل القربان، پالنے والے میری اس قلیل قربان کو قبول فرما۔ عزادارو، روایتیں بتلاتی ہے کہ زینب نے کبھی بھی اونا محمد کو نہ رویا، نہ روئی، کبھی بھی زینب اونا محمد کو، زینب نے یاد نہیں کیا۔ کب زینب نے اونا محمد کو یاد کیا؟ عزادارو، شام میں جب پہنچتے ہیں، وہاں پہ جب تبرکات ملے، سب بیویاں اپنے اپنے بچوں کے سروں کو لے کر، اور جب تبرکات آئے، جب شہداء کے سر آئے، جب علی اکبر کا سر آیا تو ام لیلہ دوڑتی ہے، جاتی ہے اور علی اکبر کا سر لیتی ہے۔ جب علی اصغر کا سر آیا، رباب دوڑی اور علی اصغر کا سر اس نے لے لیا۔ یوں کر کے سب شہداء کی ماں نے اپنے اپنے شہداء کے سر اپنے زانوں پر رکھ کے گھریا کرتی تھی اور فغاں اور فریاد کرتی تھی، لیکن حتیٰ اون محمد کے سر جب آئے، زینب آگے نہ بڑھی۔ شام کی دو بیبیاں، جب شام میں جو بیبیاں تھی، انہوں نے سوال کیا کہ ان دو بچوں کی ماں کون ہے؟ آیا ان دو بچوں کی ماں مر گئی؟ بس یہ سننا تھا۔ زینب نے کہا اے شام کی بیبیاں، ان دو بچوں کی ماں میں ہوں، لیکن میں کس پر رہوں؟ زہرا کے چاند پر رہوں یا اپنے لال پر رہوں؟ زینب نے اون محمد پر گھریا نہ کیا۔ آپ کو پتا ہے زینب نے کب اون محمد کو یاد کیا؟ جب وطن پہنچتی ہے، جب گھر جاتی ہے۔ پہلے تو گھر پہنچتی ہے زینب، کمر خمیدہ ہو چکی تھی، ضعیفہ ہو گئی تھی زینب۔ حضرت عبداللہ نے زینب کو نہیں پہچانا۔ جب زینب باہر بیٹھی ہوئی تھی اور جب عبداللہ آئے، عبداللہ نے کہا اے محترمہ، اے ضعیفہ کوئی حاجت ہے؟ ایک مرتبہ زینب دیکھتی حضرت عبداللہ کو، اے عبداللہ ابن ام، آپ نے مجھے نہیں پہچانا؟ کمر خمیدہ ہو گئی تھی۔ عبداللہ نے زینب کو نہیں پہچانا۔ اتنے داغ لیے ہوئے زینب مدینہ آئی۔ ایک مرتبہ جب اندر پہنچتی ہے، دو ننھے ننھے مسلح دیکھتی ہے، کربلا کی طرف رخ کرتی ہے زینب، اے میرے اون محمد، تم نے جنگل کو بسا دیا، میرا گھر ویران ہو گیا۔ ایک مرتبہ زینب بیٹھتی ہے، اپنے کمر کو تھامتی ہے اور حضرت عبداللہ سے کہتی ہے اے عبداللہ، اون محمد کا پرسہ قبول کیجیے۔ الا لعنۃ اللہ علی القوم الظالمین وسيعلم الذين ظلموا اي منقلب ينقلبون انا لله وانا اليه راجعون ورضا بقضائه وتسليما لامر ماتم حسین یا حسین یا حسین
یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین